Hello there. I'm Scotty. You're not, and it's Tubi Tuesday time. I messed up. Anyway, we are looking at the full moon feature Dr. Mordrid because Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is coming out, and I can't go see that. So we're gonna look at this ripoff slash tribute. This is very confusing as to supposedly. This was originally supposed to be a Doctor Strange film, and supposedly there are a couple stories. Supposedly, Charles Band, Full Moon, had the rights to Doctor Strange, but they lost them in the middle of making this movie. Which, if that was the case, you think they would have made sure they had the rights before making it? But supposedly they lost it, and so they changed things so that it wouldn't be Doctor Strange. You know, there's a few things. And on the other hand, they say that they didn't have the rights to Doctor Strange, and this was supposed to be original. But they had Jack Kirby, a very well-known comic book writer, write the script for this. So, or not the script, but he did a comic book outline of what was really supposed to be Doctor Mortalis. And even the poster for this kind of looks like Doctor Strange. And he wears like all blue with a blue cape, and I guess it resembles Doctor Strange's original suit. But Dr. Mordrid stars Jeffrey Combs as Mordrid, a sorcerer living in New York in an apartment building. It's an apartment building with a giant ass apartment. Okay. And he meets this woman who works for the police, but she's like investigating cults or something for them. And he meets this woman, and he finds out from this all-knowing, floating in space eyeballs person that Cabal, which sounds like a Mortal Kombat character, but it gets even more funnier because Cabal, who is this evil sorcerer that's escaped and could possibly be Mordred's brother, ? We never get it spelled out, but it seems that way. Has escaped from this place. He's been imprisoned for over 100 years. He's played by Brian Thompson, who, no shit, was in Mortal Kombat Annihilation, Mortal Kombat, as Shao Kahn. So, yeah, he's better here, but there's other things like Cobra, your disease, I'm the cure. He's alright as a villain. He's got like a blonde wig, or it might even be his real hair. I doubt it, but I don't know. But yeah, the plot revolves in Cabal trying to bring some things together to release these demon minions, which of course are Charles Band puppets. Apparently, this is directed by the father-son team of Albert and Charles Band. Okay, it's this kind of solidifies my feelings on Full Moon, that a lot of their earlier stuff was actually good. This subspecies, even Meridian to a point, was actually pretty good, decent, more serious stuff. There was, this subspecies, a lot of the early stuff before it started to get, oh man, even Demonic Toys was decent. It had a more serious tone. I haven't watched Puppet Master, but a little spoiler alert, that's next week's review, because that's a full moon, so I got another. I didn't realize this was full moon, and if I was like, oh, I could have waited and done this next week, but timing around Doctor Strange, it worked. So Puppet Master will be next week's, hopefully. I have a schedule that I'm trying to adhere to, but yeah. So so yeah. But I think a lot of the earlier ones were better, more when they had a more serious tone to them as opposed to movies like Killjoy or Ginger Dad Man or Evil Bong, where they just decided we're just gonna do whatever we want and it's gonna be just weird and wild, and it Like when I did my full moonathon a couple of years ago, all the ones that were earlier ones or more serious ones were the ones that I actually liked. Whereas some of the later ones, which is why I kind of stopped because, I got into Killjoy and Ginger Dead Man and Evil Bong. Even though I did like Evil Bong, I enjoyed it for what it was. It just, even Ginger Dead Man to an extent was somewhat serious at the beginning, and once the Gingerbread Man stuff happens, uh, I don't know. It just got this was actually not bad. Uh, I think for the most part, the special effects are fine. It's early '90s stuff, but they don't try to push their limits on it. Like there's some things, like I said, with the giant floating eyeball in space, man, you could tell they're kind of cutting corners there, but they didn't do that bad of a job. Jeffrey Combs, for the most part, is actually pretty good. There is this one thing at the end where he comes back from the wherever he was at, the castle, floating castle in the sky, and he says like a line like, "We must have some eggnog and watch our movie for the first time." Like it seems very wooden for some reason. For the rest of the film, he is actually very, very good. I don't know if that was the first scene they shot and he just sort of fell into it after that. I don't know. It just seems very wooden. But there are some questionable things. Well, Brian Thompson is not bad. I don't think he's ever been the greatest actor in my opinion. He's been more of a henchman, stunt actor kind of dude. When he has to be the main villain, I think the woodenness of his deliveries, it shows. Like he just no, he comes up very wooden. But there's some decisions in here that are kind of confusing. So throughout the beginning of this, like stuff keeps happening. People are being killed, stuff's being stolen, and Mordrid just keeps marking it off on his giant map that he has. And then like, why isn't he going to these places to stop this stuff? Why is he just sitting there? And he keeps getting warned, oh, he's coming and he's going to kill you. And he just keeps watching the news and marking off. And he's like, it's happening, just like you said it would, in the same place you said it would. So if they knew where they were going, why didn't they go there? And it gets even more. It seems like they wanted him to do nothing throughout most of the film, because at one point he gets arrested for absolutely no reason. Like, they have this policeman played by Jay Abacone, who you may know from Stargate SG-1 and some other stuff. Sam, the main female character, she tells him, "Hey, I know this guy who can help us. Maybe able to help us." And when they go, the scene, we don't see this part, but they arrest him because when they went to talk to him, they saw the symbol, and because movie cops, hey, if we think you're guilty, you're automatically guilty, right? No matter what you say. So they arrest him because he has the symbol on the amulet. And he's in jail for the next 20 minutes. Just sitting there. And even though he tells Sam, get my amulet, push the button, it'll freeze time. And this is after he shows her the truth. She doesn't do it. I'm like, what? Why isn't she doing it? What? Why isn't she doing it? She doesn't do it right away. Until later, when this henchman guy that works for Cabal shows up, and he's been made invincible for 24 hours. Even though it's more like a half hour. There's no way 24 hours passed. You'll be invincible for 24 hours. And so he decides he's going to get himself arrested by throwing a Molotov cocktail into the cop's car. And then he gets arrested, but then doesn't do anything because then Mordrid and Sam escape. And he conjures up a gun to make it appear as if she wasn't in on it. So, but then the other guy has to escape. This rock and roll dude has to escape, and then he's like, "Oh, the Philosopher's Stone." Yeah, there's a lot of things that kind of like Philosopher's Stone, Harry Potter, which wasn't a thing yet, but you know. And then there was, she does say the inner sanctum. He also has a crow named Edgar. Get it? Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Crow. But yeah, and then so he's like, oh, it's at the museum, or I don't remember what it was, the Natural History Museum or something. And that's all the way across town, and this traffic will never get there. And she's like, well, if only you could fly. Well, if you're trying to be Doctor Strange, he can fly. Just saying. But no, he's like, oh, I can astral project myself. And leaves his body there and goes to the museum where Brian Thompson, the Cabal, is there. And he's like, sorry, Adrian, which I think is the rocker guy's name. Smashes this vial of stuff or whatever. I don't know. And apparently Adrian's no longer empowered, or it ran out. It wasn't no 24 hours. But yeah, and then we get one of the laziest climaxes that just screams out, we have no more budget, really, for a big fight. So Mordrid shows up in his actual projection form. You know, from earlier, nothing can hurt someone in actual projection. And he even says, you have no power over me in that state. But then he blasts him and knocks him to a display, and an alarm does not go off. And I'm like, okay, just keep doing that. But then he doesn't do anything else to stop him. Even after Cabal reanimates a T-Rex skeleton, he just reanimates a Mastodon skeleton, or Mammoth skeleton, or whatever you want. And they kind of fight each other, those things. But he just stands there. Like, why don't you blast him again? You saw that work before. He just stands there and allows him to open the things where the demons are. There's this other character that we're introduced to that I think is supposed to be his version of Wong, but he's not, so I got itch, Asian or anything, and he's blind because Cabal burned his eyeballs out, but then Mordred uses his powers to paint back. I don't know. He's kind of an unnecessary character. He's there for one scene to establish, because he was supposed to watch over Cabal, and was to establish that Cabal got out, and then we see him again trying to stop the thing, and he's like, I did it. Like, he just stands there and lets him do it until he has the Mastodon finally stab him, which is the only blood we see in an R-rated film. We get nudity, we get swearing, there's no blood. There's even earlier when he controls like a security guard guy to shoot himself in the head, and it cuts to a giant rock when he shoots himself. And they do nothing. Like, that'd be splash a little blood on that rock, you know? Nothing. And the only blood we get is when Cabal is, well, I guess you get a gunshot later, but he's stabbed the thing. And he stops him. That's it. The demons go back in the thing, and then Adrian shows up to kill him, but Mordred, pops back into his body, and then he freezes him, and he has to ascend into the sky where the eyeball and spaceman is, and then the cops show up, and they arrest Adrian after shooting him in the leg, and now he can feel pain, and he can get hurt, so, yeah, and then, it just cuts to her in the sanctum with Edgar, and talking about, like, oh, we'll drink our eggnog and we'll watch It's a Wonderful Life. And I'm like, wait a minute. She said before that she knew him since Christmas. So are you telling me she moved in since Christmas or whatever? Are you telling me it's been a whole entire year has passed now? I don't know. Also, there's a reveal that he's the landlord. I really don't know what that's supposed to do. I don't know. And then he comes back and the movie ends. Basically, I told you not very good line reading, but I don't know. It's just sort of, I enjoyed it for what it was, but I'm going to give it a middle of the road, because there were some good things, but I feel like there's a few instances where there's slow motion. They're trying to drag it out. This movie is an hour and 14 minutes long. It's not that long. It's an hour and 14 minutes long, and they were trying to drag it out as much as they could. And it's like they realized that, because there's a lot of, like, he's arrested and he's just sitting in that room. And I want to know who's smoking that cigarette. Because I know it's the trope of interrogation. There's a cigarette there. But who's smoking that? Is it Mordrid? I don't think so. Is it the cop? The cop's chewing gum at the time. Can't chew gum and smoke at the same time. That's disgusting. Smoking is disgusting by itself. But who is smoking that cigarette? I want to know. I need to know. It's an unsolved mystery. Reanimate the corpse of Robert Stack and let's find out. Okay? I'm just saying. I don't know. Don't reanimate the corpse. It doesn't go well. I've seen a lot of shows. But, yeah, it's the middle of the road. I enjoyed it for what it was, but I don't know. Will I watch it again? Yeah, sure. Why not? But it's just middle of the road. I get some enjoyment out of it, but middle of the road. So, what are your thoughts on Dr. Mordrid? Leave comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.